How on earth can the country of Adam Smith and the Industrial Revolution be deindustrializing? It doesn't make any sense. And the answer is that everything that made Britain great is being destroyed by an establishment that hates Britain and hates the West. Like in most of Europe, our universities, our institutions, and our corporations have been taken over by anti-West ideology. Islamism, green extremism, anti-capitalism, wokery, transgenderism, you name it, they've adopted it. And what we've seen is a massive failure of leaders in Europe to push back against this, because this is not something the population wanted. This is not something the people in Britain or Europe voted for. This is something that was imposed from above. And what happened is that democratically elected politicians handed vast amounts of power over to the unelected and the unaccountable. In Britain, Tony Blair in particular trashed centuries of liberty by creating a tyranny of technocrats. He created an unaccountable Supreme Court, which had never been existed in Britain before. He created a much deeper and powerful state that is not held to account. He also handed vast powers over to an alphabet soup of international bodies, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, the ECHR, all of whom nobody could vote in and nobody could vote out. And all of those bodies, as you've seen in the United States of America, have been captured by the same anti-West ideology. But what I find really incredible, really
Du suchst einen Gebrauchtwagen? Autohero hat die besten Deals für dich. Zum Beispiel den BMW 1er ab 15.500 € oder den Seat Leon ab 11.000 €.
through USAID. Now, did you know that American taxpayer dollars was funding the BBC? Did you know that they were funding the Tony Blair Institute? Did you know that they were funding Rory Stewart's wife? It's incredible. We thought you were our friends, but you were actually, American taxpayers were funding this anti-West ideology. And the problem is, when the people in Britain voted for something different, when they tried to change the government, when they tried to change the system in 2016, in 2019, and in 2024, they found the same people were still in power. The bureaucracy had not changed. And it's no surprise that young people are losing their faith in democracy because they don't believe it can change things. And amazingly, during all of this, many so-called conservatives went along with the ideology. They were busy hugging Greta Thunberg. They were putting up taxes. I'm not joking about that. They were putting up taxes. They were increasing immigration. They were pursuing transgender ideology. And it's no wonder that the Conservative Party had its worst defeat since 1834. Patriotic Brits have had enough. They've had enough. And we look across the Atlantic with envy. We see President Trump in the Oval Office signing off executive orders, and we want some of that in Britain. We want drill, baby, drill. We want men banned from women's bathrooms and women's sports. We want illegal immigrants deported. We want taxes to be cut. We want a Trump revolution in Britain. We want to flood the zone. We want Elon and his nerd army of muskrats examining the British deep state. Ladies and gentlemen, we missed the first American Revolution in 1776. In fact, it was actually a revolution against us. But we want to be part of the Second American Revolution. We want to dismantle the British deep state, which is older and more entrenched than the American one. We need a great restoration bill to repeal all of the terrible Blair laws, the Equality Act, the Climate Change Act, the Human Rights Act, the Constitutional Reform Act. We need to eradicate judicial activism in Britain and restore parliamentary sovereignty. We want our government run by the executive, not by the bureaucracy. But most of all, what we need is we need to restore free speech. This is the lifeblood of our democracy. And JD Vance is right. Vice President Vance is right. Free speech is in retreat in Britain and in Europe. To Europe's governments, particularly Britain, they see George Orwell's 1984 as an instruction manual. Look at the evidence. A British citizen was arrested for praying outside an abortion clinic. We have German prosecutors saying that if you insult somebody, you could be arrested. We had Alison Pearson, a British journalist, visited at her home by the police because of a tweet that she'd posted a year ago and since deleted. I want the police to be policing real crimes, not thought crimes. But not only this, we have a supine legacy media that pay lip service to free speech, but have suppressed stories and distorted stories. The BBC were found to have violated their editorial guidelines 1,500 times in the 4 months after the appalling atrocities of October the 7th. They were found to have been downplaying Hamas terrorism and promoting the idea that Israel was the aggressor. This is our state broadcaster, funded by the taxpayer. The mainstream media have failed to report on the grooming scandal, and they failed to hold the deep state to account. And much of the reason for that is the deep state are the people giving them all their information, all their leaks, all their funding, all of their material. And they're frightened of the media regulator Ofcom.
50% Rabattaktion. Jetzt schnell sein und sichern, wir sind fast ausverkauft.
Hast du schon von der hellsten, leichtesten und bequemsten Stirnlampe des Jahres gehört? Die Adventure Light verändert alles. Und heute gibt's sie mit unglaublichen 50% Rabatt. Das gab's noch nie. Über 600.000 verkaufte Stück. Und jeder, der sie einmal getestet hat, schwört darauf. Kein schmaler Lichtstrahl, kein Tasten im Dunkeln. 230 Grad Weitwinkellicht macht die Nacht zum Tag. Perfekt fürs Joggen, Spazieren, Gassi gehen oder Heimwerken. Aber Achtung, diese Rabattaktion ist nur für kurze Zeit. Sobald der Vorrat weg ist, ist er weg. Also, worauf wartest du? Hol dir die Adventure Light heute zum halben Preis.
Du suchst einen Gebrauchtwagen? Auto Hero hat die besten Deals für dich. Zum Beispiel den BMW 1er ab 15.500 € oder den Seat Leon ab 11.200 € und viele mehr. Bei Auto Hero findest du über 5.500 Gebrauchtwagen zu Top-Preisen. Alle professionell aufbereitet und mit 1 Jahr kostenloser Garantie. Finde jetzt dein Auto auf autohero.com oder in der App.
And I believe that together we can make the West great again. Thank you. Thank you.
Brazil. Member of the Brazil Chamber of Deputies, Eduardo Bolsonaro.
E aí, pessoal? Tudo bom? Good afternoon. Hi there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think we have some Bolsonaro supporters here. The great Brazilian community. This is a little bit weird. I'm not used with talking with the teleprompter, but I'm very happy to be here. Good afternoon, CPAC. How are you doing? It's great to be here in the land of the free and the home of the brave. I know many of you are well aware of the risks posed by unelected judges interfering with the policies of a duly elected president. Even we have all heard Elon Musk call it out. We've all heard Vice President JD Vance sound the alarm. And of course, we've all heard President Trump repeatedly warn that judicial overreach threatens not just his presidency, but the very foundation of the American democracy. Well, I come from the future, and I know exactly how this story can end. Okay, maybe not the future, but I come from Brazil, which is not that different, as my country has become a laboratory for censorship and judicial authoritarianism. Since 2019, it's been used as a democracy, fighting misinformation and stopping extremism, while in reality, silencing dissidents, controlling narratives, and criminalizing opposition. We continue to face the dire consequences of this experiment every day. Just 3 days ago, my father, former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, a Disneyland coup d'etat, as some might call it, without weapons, without a plan, and while he wasn't even in Brazilian territory, but in Orlando, probably debating strategy with Goofy and taking national security advices from Mickey Mouse, maybe. It's really the Disneyland coup d'etat. There is no other word to talk about it. This baseless accusation, entirely devoid of evidence, is nothing more than a tool to neutralize political opposition. It mirrors the same tactics used against the opposition in Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Yet in Brazil is perceived differently on the global stage because while its situation is in some ways even worse, the persecution is not spearheaded by the executive branch, but by the judiciary. And that makes it all the more dangerous. We are not talking about a dictatorship in the traditional sense. We are talking about a place where tyrants issue decrees and suppress opposition openly. No. In Brazil, the judicial system has been weaponized, creating an illusion of legality while systematically dismantling democracy from within. And guess who helped found this experiment? Right? Agencies like USAID and NED, institutions supposedly dedicated for promoting democracy, but in reality, channeling resources into censorship, judicial overreach, and political persecution in my country. Let me introduce to you a man named Alexandre de Moraes. He is not an elected official. He is a Supreme Court justice who has given himself unchecked power to decide who can speak, who can run for office, and even who can go to the prison. Under his watch, Brazil has become a country where social media platforms are forced to silence opposition voices or face billions in fines. Judges and bureaucrats, not the people, decide who is fit to run for office. Congressmen like Daniel Silveira are thrown into jail for so-called opinion crimes, receiving an outrageous sentence of 8 years and 9 months behind bars, simply for exposing his views in a video. a punishment more fitting of a totalitarian regime than a democracy. And, as I said, even the former president, Jair Bolsonaro, is at risk of being arrested on the same kind of bogus charges used against opposition leaders in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. But it doesn't stop there. The judicial system has become an instrument for persecution at every level. Political parties that challenge the status quo are harassed and investigated, and some of their candidates are banned from competing fairly in elections. Independent journalists face exile or worse, imprisonment for exposing government corruption or criticizing the judiciary. Ordinary citizens who dare to express dissenting opinions on social media find themselves banned, fined, or even arrested. This is not democracy. This is a judicial overreach. This is lawfare. And this is what happens when courts are turned into political weapons against the will of the people. Why is it happening? Because Jair Bolsonaro currently leads all major polls outside the margin of error and is the only candidate capable of defeating the left in the 2026 election. If he is kept out of the race, Brazil will fall completely under China's influence. There is no doubt about that, and Brazil cannot be overlooked. With over 200 million people, the largest economy in Latin America, and a land mass nearly the size of the United States, its geopolitical and economic importance is undeniable. China recognized this and is actively working to pull Brazil deeper into its sphere of influence. And while you might think, this is just a Brazilian problem, it's not. This has many ramifications and has already spilled over into the United States. Here are three examples that should concern every American citizen. Number one, Jason Miller's detention in 2021. An American citizen, advisor to President Trump, was detained in Brazil under politically motivated orders. His crime? Attending CPAC Brazil and supporting free speech. Number two, Elon Musk's persecution. He was added to an illegal fake news investigation. That's right, Elon Musk is under investigation in Brazil. You should be, I don't know, maybe scared with him if he go around here, if he come around here. Threatened with billion-dollar fines and saw his company X banned in Brazil, all because he refused to comply with government censorship demands. The deep state scandal at CBP involving a Brazilian national. Number three, Brazilian authorities in collusion with American bureaucrats manipulated U.S. immigration records to fabricate justification for the unlawful imprisonment of Felipe Martins, a former national security advisor to my father. He was subjected to solitary confinement, psychological coercion, and inhuman treatment in an attempt to extract statements that could be used to incriminate President Bolsonaro. So, think about it. If they can detain and silence American citizens, if they can control a country as large as Brazil, if they can manipulate official U.S. government's records to imprison a political opponent abroad, what else they can do? What stops them from doing the same to help terrorists, drug cartels, or transnational criminals? And more importantly, if they could do all of this outside of the United States, what makes you think they wouldn't try to replicate it within? This has gone too far. And you, the American people, must pay attention, because what happened in Brazil is being used as a blueprint for judicial tyranny elsewhere, including right here in the United States. Ironically, as I said before, this experiment was partially funded by your taxpayer dollars, which means they will soon come back. They will come to recover that investment.
This is Cricut Explore 3, our smart cutting machine that helps you make personal
dictate your democracy, it's only a matter of time before we wake up in a country where free speech, free elections, and even freedom itself are just distant memories. Brazil was a test. Now, thank you. I told you that you have Bolsonaro supporters here. Now they are applying the same formula elsewhere, including here in the United States, and we need to fight back, just as President Trump is doing through his legal team and in partnership with Rumble by filing a lawsuit against Alexandre de Moraes for censoring and sanctioning American businesses and citizens. This legal battle will set a crucial precedent not just for Brazil, but for the future of the free speech and democracy in the United States as well. The globalist playbook is in full effect. If you don't fight back now, you will be the next. Learn from Brazil before it's too late. Thank you all, my friends. This is my message. Pray for my father. Pray for the Brazilians that are in prison now, our January 8th guys. We are asking for amnesty in the Congress, and we hope receive a lot of support from you outside of Brazil because you know how it means. God bless America. God bless Brazil. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello, CPAC. My name is Leo Zaki, and I'm the host of the international radio show America Matters on the Salem Network and the Answer Network. I was vice president of Zaki Farms, my family's poultry company, and a board member of the California Poultry Federation for 10 years. 120 years ago, my family legally immigrated to California, where my great-grandfather started what became Zaki Farms. Zaki Farms was a vertically integrated business and the largest poultry company on the West Coast, largest organic turkey producer in the nation, and the largest privately owned employer in California. After 90 years, we were forced to close our doors and put thousands of people out of work because of elected officials in California who hate private business. They raised the anti-competitive minimum wage and overregulated the entire industry until it was impossible to exist. Now, a lot of smart people will tell you this is just mismanagement, just waste, just incompetence. But let's be real for a second. This is not incompetence. This is a deliberate strategy to destroy small businesses and the middle class. California isn't run by the people anymore. It's run by a political cartel, by a handful of ruling families and their cronies who will not stop unless we drive them out. Many of you, especially the younger ones in the audience, might not even know this, but California used to be a red state, a strong conservative state. And here's what they don't want you to know. California still has more conservatives than any other state. That's more than Texas, more than Florida. So how do the radicals stay in power? They built a one-party dictatorship, and they call it a supermajority. And they did this by running Democrats, but calling them Republicans. These rhinos stole the vote from the people by making IDs for voting illegal, by inflating the census, gerrymandering, ballot harvesting, and removing all oversight that was in place to ensure election integrity. I'm no detective, but even a dummy can smell voter fraud when the state with the most conservatives somehow magically votes blue every year. We are blessed to have Donald Trump as our president. We truly are. But all that means is that we have a few more years and a fighting chance to clean out the gangsters who are plundering our beautiful nation. The fight continues, and we must win this battle. And this battle is in California. We can turn California red again. It's responsible for some of the worst legislators in the nation and destabilizing our republic with anti-American policies. If it happened here, it can and will happen in your state too. But that's why you're here, to see conservative values defended against the psychotic enemies of our republic with their BS woke agenda 21 and 15-minute cities. Every day, the new Department of Government Efficiency exposes more of their lunacy and disgusting waste. California needs its own DOJ and a proper purchasing department to manage its spending habit with full transparency. Transparency in our government is mandatory to keep out the bad guys. California is over $3.2 trillion in debt. And thanks to DOJ, we will soon know some of the insanity these maniacs have been wasting our money on. This isn't just corruption, it's criminal. The fires in Los Angeles have woken up a lot of lefties. So guess what? It doesn't matter if you used to be a liberal or conservative when you're homeless. Losing everything tends to change your mindset. I'm here to tell you that California is ready for change, but it won't happen without the support of our Republicans across the nation. That means all of you, everyone in this room and listening at home, wants to save this country and defeat the Marxist globalist woke agenda. The time to strike is now. But the establishment rhinos are working hard to derail our America First efforts. Support your grassroots patriots and sign up for your local precinct committeemen. There's over 200,000 empty seats out of the 400,000 nationwide. If we're gonna hold the line, we need to scoop them up and also run for local board, council, committee, statewide positions. Trump winning does not mean the war is won. It means we are just getting started. And Americans are gearing up. The battle isn't just against a toxic ideology. It's against criminals who have infiltrated our system and are trying to destroy it from within. We are going to break the totalitarian supermajority in California with the help of God, the prayers of the righteous, and a lot of hard work. Again, my name is Leo Zaki, and please tune into my radio show Monday through Friday and visit my website to see how you can get involved locally with other patriots. Go to turnred.org, and I want to thank all of you so much. America, California's in the fight. Thank you, CPAC.
Every life is a gift, and every life deserves a chance to live.
At the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation, we're making the original pro-life religion pro-life again. To learn about our life-saving educational and healing programs in the United States and in Israel, please visit jewishprolifefoundation.org.
Every institution today is under attack. The home, the church, the government. And many people are asking, what is the truth? Jesus Christ claimed the ultimate truth. Are you willing to face the truth?
Do you think the MKUltra project ever actually ended?
The Central Intelligence Agency is actively involved in mind manipulation.
We all answer to one God and one Savior, and He's there to change your life for the better.
Hey there, scan your QR code on your badge so that you can view the agenda. Check out our membership circles and learn more about our centers.
Just like Fidel Castro did, Fidel Castro would target the enemies of his government and try to take them down. This is exactly what we're seeing with Joe Biden. He should be ashamed of himself. No American should be called a Nazi or be called an enemy of the state. Yeah. Those of us who love this country, and I have spent my whole life defending freedom in America.
Gentlemen, what's Hungarian for Trump won and you know it? Please welcome CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp and Political Director of the Prime Minister of Hungary, Balázs Orbán.
Du suchst einen Gebrauchtwagen? Auto Hero hat die besten Deals.
Welcome to America, Balázs.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Congratulations to all that you elected President Trump. I think you saved your country, and you did a great thing to Europe and the world, and for my country as well.
Okay, so we have to take care of business. What is Hungarian for Trump won and you know it?
Trump nyert, mi megmondtuk.
Very fantastic. That's great. By the way, we've had 4 CPAC Hungaries, or we will have
That's
a 4th.
True. Yeah, the
coming
4th.
up in May. Is everyone invited?
Yes. You have standing invitation.
Come.
Please come and visit us. Budapest is safe and sound.
Safe and sound. It's amazing how when we first started collaborating with each other and with the center and with Miklos and the whole gang, people inside of government, people outside of government, everyone said, why would you go to Hungary? And then I read the Washington Post. I didn't know this. Apparently your prime minister is like a dictator or something. I didn't realize this. And then he was like a fascist dictator who rigged elections. And that's what I was told. And I remember telling one of these reporters, I think it might have been at the Washington Post, I was like, wait a minute, I'm always reading that you say you can't rig elections, and now you can rig elections. How did all that disinformation transform into the fact now people look at Viktor Orban and say, he's in many ways the leader of Europe?
I mean, first of all, the liberals are doing the same with everyone. They did the same with...
You mean lying?
Yeah, lying. With your president, they did the same with everybody who is opposing their power structures. That's how things look like. And second, if you represent the truth as a politician, and as it is done by my prime minister, then time is on your side. It means that it will turn out that your decisions, even if those were criticized heavily by the liberal institutions, and they did everything to destroy you, like we were dictators, fascists, Putin's puppets, whatsoever, but time is on your side, and it proves that you were wrong during all time. And that was the case with the migration, when we were saying that letting in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants to Europe and to our country, it's not a good idea. So we should do the other way around. And we were the only ones who asked the people. Migration wasn't an issue in Hungary. So we thought we were thinking about that. Oh, we don't have legitimacy what decisions should be made. So let's ask the people. And we asked the people, we organized national referendum, and obviously overwhelming majority, even those who are disagreeing with the government, were saying no to illegal migration. And then we stopped it, and then we canceled it. And the same with the war. Same with the war. President Trump is right. As it was said by my prime minister, this war has to end because it brings us nowhere. It's crazy. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are dying, and everybody takes it like.
And your prime minister, from the very beginning of this war, reached out to Joe Biden and said, let's find a way to end this war. He was on this immediately, but the Biden administration was uninterested.
He was the one who started the peace mission. He said that, look, guys, if we want to end this conflict, we need to reopen the communication channels. How do you want to make a peace if you are not having communication with the other side? It's impossible. So if somebody is saying then that he is working for peace but not having communication with the other side, he's a liar.
That's right.
He's a liar. Don't believe them. Only those people take seriously peace efforts who are ready to engage and negotiate. And what happened? Only as a news, it's a small news, negotiations started immediately. Energy prices went down, stock markets went up. There is again hope. So important. Communication is important. Peace talks are hard, but communication is important.
So there's this special relationship with Donald Trump and Viktor Orban, which is multidimensional. Two amazing guys, very different guys. I think the Western press tries to act like they're the same. They have some similar characteristics: strength, endurance, same policies, but they're different in a lot of ways too, right? I think the one thing that is the most the same is this idea of kind of getting kicked out of power, even though I don't think Donald Trump got kicked out. That's my view. I'm sure I'll get canceled from someone for saying that. I don't think he ever got kicked out. But he had this ability to come back and win the White House. Viktor Orban lost power, gained power. That's something they have in common. Matter of fact, I talked to your prime minister on one of my trips, and I said, you're the one guy on the earth who can tell Donald Trump how you do this.
Yes, that's true. My prime minister is the longest serving leader in Europe, but also a longest serving in opposition. And I think it's also important. If you serve your country, there are different positions where you can, where and how you can do it. And I think there is one similarity between Trump and Orban. They both love their nations.
Yeah.
And this is crucial.
Yeah.
Nations are obviously different. Like Hungary is a small country. It's an old country, a 1,000-year-old country. United States is a big country, but in different geography, different history, different culture. But if you like your country and you are ready to act in accordance of the interest of your country, then you are doing a proper job. If you're not doing that, then you are a bad politician.
That's right. And one of the other similarities is, as you all know, the story of Donald Trump and CPAC is, before I was even elected chairman, he wanted to meet, he wanted to talk about how we could collaborate. He always understood that he was going to work around kind of the establishment systems and work with different kinds of allies. And one of the things your prime minister said to us in this wonderful lunch we have, which will remain off the record, don't worry. That's one of the great things about being around a long time as you follow those rules, is he explained that one of the reasons he lost power was because he didn't have any allies. He didn't have any allies in the media. He didn't have any allies in nonprofits. All the major Soros-funded institutions in Hungary were doing the dirty deeds against him. And he realized he needed to set up institutions and organizations that could help tell the truth. And I think Donald Trump has understood that well, too, by using social media, by being a good partner with CPAC and other conservative groups. You agree with this?
I agree with you. I think the Western world is healing. And we are like national conservatives, if I may call ourselves that way. So it means that we want to save our nation. And we want to see our nation thrive. This is our goal. This is why we engage in public life. But if we want to save our nations, we have to cooperate, because the liberals, they do cooperate. They have an enormous power structure.
Well-funded.
Well-funded, USAID and other organizations were using American taxpayers'
Okay, so let me just stop
money.
you. On behalf of the American taxpayer, we apologize to the good people of Hungary that our government tried to destabilize Orban and the good leaders in Europe. We're
Thank
sorry.
you very much. We appreciate, but unfortunately, Brussels...
But nobody in this room had anything to do with it, I want you to know that.
Brussels
well, maybe some on the way back, but not the rest of us.
Brussels is doing the same, so it's our job to kick them out.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. Hungarian people voted against illegal migration, and what is happening? Brussels is using legal sanctions against us. We have to pay €1 million.
So they're bribing, basically blackmailing your government.
Crazy.
Just because you want to have a border. They're saying we're not going to hold back on the revenue you should be getting from the EU. Every day, the amount of money the EU owes you grows.
Yeah, every day, €1 million we have to pay. But compared to the other option that we let everybody in and we let to have a country which is destroyed, it's the better option. So this is the reason in the long term we need a change. We need a change not just in Washington, but in Brussels as well. Europe liberal elites, they are the most isolated people now, because they are isolated themselves from Trump, and the new administration isolated themselves from Russia, isolated themselves from China, but and they are desperate. But for this reason, they are dangerous, and they are ready to do anything to crush their opponents. So we will not let it happen.
Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. Okay, so I think we have some great titles in some of our talks. Do you know why I think they're great? Because I came up with some of them, so let me just bask in a tiny little bit of my glory. But there was this concept in America that we needed to have a truce on social issues. We shouldn't talk about questions like when life begins, what is marriage, what is gender, all that stuff. Let the teachers handle it in the schools. And as a party, what we should do is just try to lower taxes, lower regulations. And over time, I think Donald Trump, who's not necessarily a culture warrior, understood that it was questions of immigration, questions of families, question of the continuation of our society that were paramount. Viktor Orban realized this when he came back to power. One of the most amazing things he has done with his party is try to change all these government regulations so that people want to get married. People want to have kids. There's little Hungarian babies in mother's arms. And you're not going to have a country if your people don't, right, have kids.
Yeah.
And this idea that you're going to bring in all these migrants to be the next generation in Hungary is something you guys reject.
So in general, the idea of liberal democracy, that the state is not interfering in any of the aspects of the private life, it sounds to be a good idea, because we all are freedom-loving people and we like freedom and we don't want to state at our courtyard. But
Jeder sagt mir, dass London ein Neuanfang für mich wird.
State was interfering into the private matters. They were saying that...
Once again, are you saying they were lying? They were acting like they were neutral, but they weren't neutral.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And I think many more conservatives are starting to realize that if these things are important for us, it's not about freedom. Everybody can do what they want. But if somebody wants to have a family, somebody wants to have a marriage, somebody wants to have a kids, then we need a state. We need a functioning institutional system which is not treating her as a criminal, but is treating her as a loyal, normal citizen.
I think they view her as a polluter. Going to bring another human being into the earth and add to the landfills. They view it as a negative.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy.
It's a nightmare, and this nightmare has to be stopped. This is what we are doing in Hungary for like 15 years. We're trying to create an environment which maintain freedom of decision for everyone, but also it advocates some policies. We have a proper family policy. Churches are not prosecuted. They are welcomed in Hungary. Woke agenda is out of schools, out of media, and I'm very happy to see that America is turning to that direction as well. And congratulations to you again.
So what we're really saying is big government ends up subsidizing all the activities for our young people that are counterproductive to society continuing. They're encouraging drugs, giving out free needles, encouraging them to be on their parents' health care until they're like, 47 years old now? Like, nobody gets to grow up at all. And in Hungary, you said, okay, well, if the government's going to subsidize all these things that we don't want to encourage more of, what if we actually use the government system to subsidize what we want? And you did it through tax cuts. So if a mom decides, by the way, I don't think we should force anybody to be a parent. It's really hard to be a parent. The last thing you want to do is have people being parents who are really angry that they're being parents. But like you said, if you want to be a parent, have a kid, you get a tax cut in Hungary.
Yeah,
Here we give you almost like a tax increase.
If you have four children, you don't pay any income taxes.
For the rest of your life?
Rest of your life. And we are planning to increase it. Children with 3, and we will see.
What if your child's name is Hunter Biden? Do you still get a tax cut, or does that... Is there like an appellate process where maybe you could put a little taxes on that kid?
Every life counts.
Okay, fair enough. It's a good answer. Okay, so you're here in America. It's a long trip from Hungary. By the way, how many people have been to Budapest or to Hungary? How beautiful was it? How safe was it? Amazing, right? Okay, the Balabans are like, they're Polish, but even they are like the Hungarians.
We have beautiful people, beautiful architecture, good food, conservative, safe space. That's also important for many people. Come and visit us.
So you've come all this way to America. You're one of the top advisors to a leader that the people here in this room really respect, the people around the country respect, Viktor Orban. You're in the middle of everything now, trying to stop a war, trying to change what Brussels tries to do to ruin people's lives. What's your message for America? Do you feel hope about how our collaboration, starting with CPAC, moving on to Orban and Trump, how this collaboration can change the world?
I think my message would be America is back, is a good news, and don't rely on the liberals, and don't count on the liberals. You have your friends all around the world, and if you find your friends, work with them together and save the Western civilization together. This would be my message.
Are you up to the challenge? Balázs Orban, thank you for being with us at CPAC. Thanks for the important work you do. And thanks for making Hungary great.
Thank you. God bless.
I switched.
I made the switch to Newsmax.
We start this morning in Washington, where all eyes are on the White House.
I switched to Newsmax.
Newsmax.
Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Everyone is making the switch. I did.
I switched, and it made all the difference.
It made all the difference.
Have you made the switch? You should.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
Every institution today is under attack. The home, the church, the government. And many people are asking, what is the truth? Jesus Christ claimed the ultimate truth. Are you willing to face the truth?
Do you think the MK Ultra project ever actually ended?
The Central Intelligence Agency is actively involved in mind manipulation.
We all answer to one God and one Savior, and He's there to change your life for the better.
institution today is under attack. The home, the church, the government. And many people are asking, what is the truth? Jesus Christ claimed the ultimate truth. Are you willing to face the truth?
Do you think the MKUltra project ever actually ended?
The Central Intelligence Agency is actively involved in mind manipulation.
We all answer to one God and one Savior, and He's there to change your life for the better.
Hey everyone, it's Matt Schlapp with CPAC. You know, CPAC isn't just a conference. We're fighting 365 days a year on all the issues you care about. Please go to your badge. There's a QR code. Check it out and see the different centers we have at CPAC, whether it's fighting anti-Semitism or corporate responsibility or raiding members of Congress or state legislators or criminal justice reform. You name it, we're into it, and check it out right now.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
President Trump is back in the White House.
The 47th President of the United States.
Donald Trump has taken back America.
I actually started quite a while ago in CPAC, and I enjoyed it so much that I came back for a second one, then a third, then I said, what the hell, let's run for president. Matt said, it's like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. He says, you should run for politics. He's the one who said, you should run. For the presidency of the United States.
It is my honor to introduce to CPAC 2017 our president, Donald Trump.
First of all, I want to thank Matt Schlapp and his very, very incredible wife and boss, Mercedes, who have been fantastic friends and supporters, and so great when I watch them on television defending me. Nobody has a chance. I love this place. Love you people. You never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you. We know that there are still more records to be shattered, new summits to be scaled, more triumphs to be realized, and more amazing history just waiting to be written. The American adventure has only just begun. God bless America, and we will see you next year. Thank you very much. You never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Say Their Names. Israeli hostage families speak. Please welcome father of Idan Alexander, Adi Alexander, brother-in-law of Omir Moran, Moshe Lavi, Nova Music Festival survivor and brother of Guy Dalal, Gal Dalal, hosted by CPAC Senior Fellow, Mercedes Schlapp.
Vamos.
Thank you all so much. You know, this is a very difficult subject, and I see someone in the crowd, Julie Levin. Stand up, look, Julie. Julie Levin, Mark Levin's wife, but just a leader in this issue of being a voice for the Jewish people, for the suffering that we have seen, the tragedies that we have witnessed against innocent lives. And these brave men have come here to deliver a somber message, but it's also a message of hope, a message of urgency, a message of action that we need to take. And here at CPAC, we all, a CPAC family, first we stand with your families. When you are in pain, when you are suffering, we are suffering with you, and we are praying for each and every one of you. And to start this, Gal, I want to start with you. You were at the Nova Music Festival that day on October 7th.
Yes.
Tell us what happened.
First of all, I'll start with thank you, Mercedes, and thank you, all of you, for being here and supporting us. And thank you for having us. The Nova Festival had almost 5,000 people in it, more than 20 nationalities. It was like a gathering of all sorts of different people from all sorts of different cultures. People went to celebrate life, spiritual people. It was a spiritual festival. And the people who were kidnapped from them had nothing to do with this conflict, had nothing to do with this war, and they should have never used as a currency in this war. I went to this festival because it was my brother's first festival ever.
And it's your younger brother.
It's my baby brother, yeah. And he never went to any of these kinds of festivals. So I encouraged him actually to go to this kind of festival because I knew that it's going to be a good one. And he asked me to come with him, to join him in his experience and to watch over him. That was the only reason I went. And I arrived there pretty early in the morning. And 15 minutes after I arrived, the alarms already went off. And I asked my brother if he wanted to come to my house with his friends, and they all agreed to come to my apartment. And I asked him if he wanted to join me in my car. And he said that he don't want his friend to feel like he left them, so he's going to go back with them, and he see me at home. I think like 30 minutes later, the terrorists start shooting on us. It was a massive round of shooting. It came from all around us. We had to leave our cars and run away, and I haven't seen my brother ever since.
When that happened, tell us about the moment when you realized, oh my goodness, he's been taken.
So after almost 10 hours of fleeing, running and hiding, while terrorists shooting on me with gunshots and RPGs, rockets, I was finally able to get rescued by our forces. And they took us to the nearest police station. This is where I called my father. And my father sounded broken. And I said to him, look, if something happened to my brother, you need to let me know. And that's when he told me that my brother was kidnapped and that Hamas was already published a hostage video 3 hours before I was even able to escape, which meant that my parents, my family, everyone knew that my brother was taken, but no one told me, so I can focus on saving my own life.
So they saw the video, your parents saw the video first.
Yeah, and I saw it when I saw it after I was rescued, and all I could think about is that I went there to watch over him, and I went back without him. I just couldn't realize it. It took me a while.
How are you getting through day by day?
It's a whole process for us, the families of the hostages. Every day, it's another struggle. But we always have on our minds that our hostages, our loved ones, they are suffering much more. And when we think about the pain that they have to endure while still in captive, we get strength and we get the power to do everything we can to help them. I know that my brother would do exactly the same for me, and we have to stay strong for them for when they will come back.
Moshe, your brother-in-law.
Thank you.
Omri. He has a wife, Lishai, and 2 beautiful girls. What happened?
On October the 7th, Hamas terrorists barged into my sister Lishai and Omri's home. They used a teenager from the kibbutz, Tomer Arava, to lure them to open the door. And they opened it immediately to save Tomer's life. Tomer was found dead a few days later, his body in a field. But Omri and Lishai knew that they were opening the door to terrorists to save his life. For hours they were held captive in their own home. My niece Roni was awakened with a gun pointed at her face, terrorists surrounding her. She was 2.5 years old back then. They were then grouped with another family in the kibbutz, the Idan family, whose eldest daughter, Ma'ayan, was murdered. They were abused for hours. It was live streamed on Facebook. The terrorists took a phone of one of the captives and simply live streamed it on their Facebook account. And then at around 1:30 p.m., Omri was handcuffed. Lishai told him she loves him, she'll take care of the girls, and asked him not to be a hero. He told her he loves her, and that was the last time she saw him. Ronnie, my niece, tried to run to him. Lishai stopped her, luckily. And ever since, Omri has been a hero. For 503 days, he's been a hero in captivity, fighting for survival, while we are fighting here to returning home. I'm lucky because my sister Nisa survived, my parents survived, my other sister and her family survived. All experienced October the 7th while I was in New York. But being lucky means you have a hostage in your family that you need to fight for.
When Lishai called you, what did she tell you?
We discovered Lishai was rescued that evening, Israel time, the night. She was rescued 11 hours after the attack started by the IDF. After Omri was taken, she was held captive for a few more hours in that home. We talked for the first time a day later, the entire family on WhatsApp. We did a video call, and it was so difficult. By that time, my parents were rescued, my other sister was rescued, and luckily Shai and the girls were rescued. And we tried to understand what's going on, what do we need to do, where is Omri? And for the next couple of days, we discussed what do we need to do. I wanted to return to Israel to serve in the army. I was a captain in the IDF. But then my sister told me, I need you to be my soldier in this war until Omri comes home. I need you to speak up because there are very few people who can speak up for me and for Omri like you can. And since that day, I've been her voice. I've been Omri's voice. I've been every single hostage voice because they can't speak from the dungeons of Hamas. They are chained, they are starved, they're deprived of water, sanitation, sunlight. They're calling for the rescue. And we have to make sure to bring them home, like Vice President JD Vance said. Irrespective of other issues, there is one priority right now. Let's not sign more death certificates. Let's make sure all the hostages who are alive return home, and those who were murdered in captivity, like those who will return today and broke our heart, will be buried in the land of Israel.
Adi, your son, the oldest of three. Yeah. Idan, the only living American right now in captivity. How are you feeling? I mean, how are you processing this every day as a father?
You know, I'm just thinking about the place that my kids grew up in, which is Rockville, Maryland, not far away from this hotel. And we moved to New Jersey back in 2008. It's really hard. I mean, Idan is an all-American kid, Tenafly High School graduate, decided on a gap year to enlist himself to IDF, and because he loved both of his countries. And this is what he did. On that tragic day, he found himself on a tiny outpost next to Kibbutz Nir Oz, and he was the only soldier at this post. And the post was attacked, heavily attacked. He was surrounded by more than 20 militants. And after conducting a short fight, he found a way to surrender. So we kind of consider ourselves lucky that he managed to surrender. And ever since, you know, he was seen in the tunnels right at the beginning. And then Hamas released this hostage video on Thanksgiving's weekend when we saw Idan speaking. We saw him well. He was pale. He wasn't himself, but he was alive. And this is what's important for us, and this is what drives us forward.
Gal, 69 hostages have been released. 6, I believe, now coming up on Saturday. We've seen the tragedy of the Bibas family, the 2 beautiful children, the mother, and we've all seen those photos. What is your message to the leaders out there the international leaders out there who are just not stepping up to put pressure on Hamas to release these release these hostages right now?
We have been waiting for so long to see hostages returning. And for almost 500 days, we waited for the second deal to come. And as soon as Trump started his role as the President of the United States, you could see hostages start to return. And I think that's because Trump knows evil and good. Trump can see, you mentioned the Bibas. Little babies should have never used, taken as hostages, used as a currency in a war. That's just unimaginable evil. And for that, we thank him. And I think that the world is looking at what's going on in the United States. And we believe that with him, we will get to see all the other hostages. But the thing is that we are grateful for all the lives that he saved already. But there are still many lives that are waiting to be saved. And I would say, don't forget about the hostages. Yeah.
This goes, Moshe, beyond a political issue. This is a humanity issue. And you've seen President Trump involved personally in this process. But the reality is, and you said this, you said that the fight against Islamic terrorists, it's a long-term struggle, but there's this urgency to get these hostages released right now. I mean, how do you just describe this message to those out there so that the world can unite in saving these hostages?
I'll say that our struggle against Hamas, their accomplices, their funders and sponsors, members of the United Nations, is long-term. And we will finish that long-term struggle and be victorious. But for us as a society, to be victorious, to protect our social contract, our national and Jewish ethos, we have to bring home the hostages. It's a humanitarian issue. It's an international issue. Hostages from so many countries were kidnapped, of several faiths were kidnapped and are still held. Omri is a dual national, Israeli and Hungarian, and I can say the Hungarian government has stood behind us since the beginning. And so does the United States government. I'm so appreciative and grateful for President Trump's leadership, and I'm certain he knows that what needs to be happening now is that all the hostages must be freed. We have to keep demanding that Hamas let them go, but making sure that we make the concessions needed to bring them home in the short term.
Adi, you've spoken to President Trump multiple times. What does he tell you?
President Trump is a very tough guy, he's a smart guy. At the beginning, when we first met, before he took office, he was shocked by the fact that 45 Americans were killed on that day, on October 7th. To count anything like this, really, other than September 11, you have to go back to 80s. And ever since we met him, he took ownership on this matter, recognizing that Americans are still being held and 45 Americans killed, and we're really grateful for that. But we have to push forward until everybody's out. No tips and drips, bunch of them out, like hopefully this Saturday, and then we will be done.
Just to wrap up here, Gal, what do you want to tell our people here at CPAC? How can we support you and your family?
So we always say that we need your prayers and we need your actions. Don't forget the hostages. Don't forget that they are waiting for you. Everyone can do something, and we all have the responsibility to do all we can to bring them back. And together we will.
Adi, your message to what you want to know, how we can be helpful for you and your family as well.
Just keep this issue front and center. Keep praying. Really, this is the time to pray. We're in the middle of this process. Hopefully, we will be successful to pass it over the finish line. with President Trump help, leadership, and Steve Witkoff's knowledge and leadership as well. Just keep praying, guys.
Moshe.
I'll ask all this amazing audience to close your eyes and imagine with me my nieces Ronnie and Alma running to their father Omri. Imagine my sister Lishai hugging and kissing her husband Omri. Imagine Danny, Omri's father, shaving his beard after hundreds of days and embracing his son Omri. And take that joy of picturing that to mobilize in every way you can: prayer, action, rallying, writing, so that I could tell my nieces Ronnie and Alma that their father is coming home tomorrow.
I do want to say we spent time with Noah, who is here. She's one of the freed hostages who was in captivity for over 200 days. And let me tell you something. This young woman is recovering from major trauma, and she's putting her trauma aside to be a voice for the rest of the hostages. So that is such a brave woman right there. And these are brave men who are being so strong for their families and for the Jewish people. And we here have an obligation to make sure we give them the love, the support, the prayers, and make sure that these hostages come back home. Thank you. Thank you for being with us at CPAC. You all really inspire us. And yes, we're going to bring the people back home. We're going to bring the hostages back home. We are going to stand with you, stand with your families, and ensure that we can start healing and start moving forward. Thank you so much. God bless.
Representative from West Virginia, Representative Riley Moore, co-founder and president of Patriot Mobile, Glenn Story, CEO of Morris Industries, Nate Morris, and your host from Newsmax, Bianca Della Garza.
How's it going, CPAC?
All right.
Well, we are so thrilled to be here, and I just had a little backstage convo with these guys. Patriots, entrepreneur, visionaries, and they are going to be so enlightening. So I'm pleased to be here. And I know we just heard all the introductions, but Congressman Moore, Glenn Story, the CEO of Patriot Mobile, If you don't have his cell service, we're gonna change you today on that. And Nate Morris, really incredible stories. So let's start a little bit with you, Congressman Riley Moore, because West Virginia is the 5th largest energy producer. And people were looking at what was going on, and you were the treasurer before you were in Congress, and way before it was popular, you actually took on BlackRock, you took on JP Morgan, you took on all these big banks and said you need to divest. You basically said you're fired. Tell us about the circle that was going on in your state that made no common sense.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, for us in West Virginia, it was really an existential threat for us to continue to deal with these financial institutions that had an ESG framework that was so harmful to our industries, coal, natural gas, and oil. And so what I did was start to talk to some of our coal producers, natural gas, and the like, and they were losing access to financing. They couldn't continue their operations because no one would bank them. They were essentially being debanked. And we had folks like BlackRock and the other big 3 that were moving investment away from these critical industries that just so happen to power the country and are also so important to the state of West Virginia. So in 2021, I sent letters to them warning them if they didn't stop this activity that we were going to divest out of them, and they ignored those warnings. And then in January of 2022, it's a little while ago now, I became the first elected official in the United States to divest our tax dollars out of BlackRock entirely. Thank you.